Howdy y'all, this is A.R. Kavli. Welcome back to my channel and the further adventures of Russel Miranda, Gunslinger. As we left off last time, he had faced down some surviving ghostriders of Tahira who were not having a good time of fighting a strange plant creature like a giant cactus with tentacles, and it had wiped out two of them, and Russell took down the third. Now he's low on his ammo, so he does need to start conserving that, but there's a lot going on there, and it's, better to have some bullets than to rely on a knife when you're dealing with a giant man-eating monster plant and three lightning bolt shooting ghost riders. So, but it is something to keep track of narratively as his time in this strange new world, this other world, carries on. And he has been chasing after these guys for a while. Now his instructions are basically to investigate and stop them. But for me as the GM, I think it's time to at least put a little hint, a little clue for myself to see what they're actually up to. What mischief are these Ghost Riders of Tahira up to? Because without it, without that knowledge, it's going to make it a little hard to come up with things to investigate. Especially if Russel Miranda is he's going to have to investigate, then I kind of need to know a little bit about what they're doing so I know what kind of things he might find, what kind of clues he might come across. So in order to do this, we are going to head over to our fancy solo rules, Tricube Tail solo rules. And I think I'm just going to ask, I'm going to use this complex questions table. And I'm just going to roll twice on it and see what comes up. All right, a 2-1 and a 2-6. That's going to be barrier, and control. All right. So they are looking to control a barrier. So somewhere in the distance, maybe on this world, maybe on another world, the Ghost Riders of Tahira are trying to break through a barrier. And that actually matches with like the breakers in the Dark Tower series who were breaking through the beams, who were destroying the beams that held reality together. So at this point, I don't need to know what's beyond this barrier, but that's actually a pretty cool roll. So they're going to control a barrier. So whatever they're trying to do, they're going to try to remove power from something, banish something, and this barrier really could turn out to be something like maybe an ancient guardian or something like that. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be some kind of force field or anything, but that's enough for now. That's I think that's enough. Although I am going to jot that down. Of course, I'm assuming they're going to be trying to unleash some kind of great evil. So as Russell carefully surveys the battle scene, he's already approached the dead bodies and the creature, the giant man-eating plant, does not seem disturbed by his presence, either because he's out of range or out of reach, whatever. Russell is happy with that, so he drags the bodies back. And as he investigates, he sees that the bodies seem to be desiccated, like as if they'd been drained of their lives, but still being powered by this unholy fire, this blue flame that enshrouds them. Now, standing there, mostly naked, except for some jury-rigged shoes, moccasins, some jury-rigged moccasins, and a now somewhat cut-up duster. He looks to see if there's anything that he can use on them. They are clothed, kind of like drovers, kind of like cowboys. Let's see. I'm going to say on a 5 or a 6, there's something that he can use there. Much of what they have on them is kind of a mystery to them, or to him. So on a 5 or 6, something good. Oh, hey, look at that. All right, so this one of them, once the flames die away, the clothes that the Ghost Riders of Tahira are wearing, they're not burnt, they're not ruined. It feels a little creepy stripping these things of their clothes, but one of them has clothes that fits him, and we'll assume it's the one that he shot in the head so that his shirt doesn't have a big thorn hole through it. So he strips the person, and underneath he still looks like a person, except his skin is, as I said, it's drawn, it's desiccated looking, and there are more of these little ports, these connections that he had seen when he first encountered the Ghost Riders, where they had plugged into these strange old ones' machinery. He has no idea what that machinery did to them, how it interfaced, but he did watch a young child die on the machinery, and his life force converted somehow into the power that became the Ghost Riders of Tahira. Even the boots fit. They really seem more like what we would know in our world as combat boots or infantry boots than cowboy boots as he's used to wearing, but they are definitely sturdier than his makeshift moccasins. So he takes those off and puts them in his satchel because, it's good to have moccasins. They're nice and quiet. Searching around more, he doesn't really find anything. He doesn't find any devices that they were using to shoot these little lightning bolts. So he believes it's some kind of magic, something to do with the fire that's wreathed around them when they're alive. Now, it's on to the horses. Let's see. So we found stuff that fits. I'll say the same. 5 or 6 if there's any maybe useful items. Okay. So there is a useful item to be found. We will once again, we're going to use our solo rules. And we'll just take a roll down here. Now this arcane item, that doesn't have to be arcane necessarily, but we'll see what interesting item he has found. All right, a 1, 2. An axe or a machete, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to assume that I'm going to say that it is a machete, looking at the surrounding map without gazing and seeing what's there specifically, or without focusing on it. There's a lot of grassland type thing. So we'll say it's a machete. And my initial thought is that maybe it's some kind of technological machete, or maybe it has some kind of like vibrating edge or something like that. But let's take a roll on the features. 2, 5. So using this down here, 2, 5, engraved runic. You know, just because it sounds so cool, I don't know what it does yet, but it's actually going to be an axe. It's going to be an axe engraved with runes. So let me jot that down real quick. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So maybe the axe, well, it has some kind of mysterious history. We will figure that out later on. Now to Russell, these runes, they could be, you know, maybe they're like a radiation warning rune, or you know, like a technological or industrial pictograms, you know, 2-man lift or something like that. He doesn't know what they are. We don't even know what it is yet, but might be something interesting to maybe buy as a perk later on. But he finds this axe and he feels that there is some kind of power in them. As he holds it and hefts it, it feels like a regular axe, a one-handed axe. It's bigger than a hatchet, and it's definitely more of a war axe than a wood axe. Although, you know, it could do both. But he figures out a way to he takes some of his leftover leather thong and ties it around his belt. Or actually, no, he has new clothes, and this is probably was either held in a it was probably held on the guy's belt in some kind of leather holster or something. So he just transfers that into his belt, and now he's going to go after the horses. Now he notices that they're all kind of heading into the hills to the northeast. They're trotting off that way. Knowing horses as he does, he's assuming they're heading home. So he's going to follow them for a little while. He doesn't want them to get spooked, so he's not going to try to rush up. He's going to stalk after them until maybe he can get close enough. Because they are horses, and they do have a little bit of that blue glow left in them, but nothing near so much as when the horse riders, when the ghost riders were on them. All right, so I'm going to say that's a crafty roll to sneak up and follow them. Oops, wrong one. 2 dice 6, crafty. I'll just say it's standard. All right, so he is able to follow along and keep up with them as they go across, as they are heading to wherever it is that they're heading. So he follows them through some hills. Again, on the lookout. Curious what his axe would do if he needs it. But at this point, he's still going to be relying on his Bowie knife and his big irons. All right, let's see what kind of fun I can have with these cards today. So this is going to lead us to our first scene. Let's see what that is. A hard, brawny challenge. All right, so that's going to be a hard, brawny challenge. And let's once again take a look at our Tricube Tales solo. And we're wilderness, so let's just roll up a wilderness encounter. A wilderness event. And location, maybe. All right, so 4-3. So a shout or a scream. Okay, let's roll for a feature, a wilderness feature. See if it will give us any kind of context, maybe, to what is making that scream. And maybe I should roll wilderness folk instead, since it is a scream. So it's obviously something living. So let's roll wilderness folk. 46. A monster or undead. All right, well, that monster / undead is going to probably give us a little bit of trouble here. And let's see if there's anything, the feature. All right. Okay. All right, so he has come across an ancient shrine that has a monster or undead that screams at him. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to scream at him, but it's certainly screaming at something. Is it the horses that are screaming? Maybe they have tread upon some place. Now, they probably wouldn't if they're heading home. The shrine is obviously known if this is kind of the direction that they're heading home. But I'll say on a 5 or 6, it's the horses that are screaming because they're actually the victims. All right. Nope. So it looks like as Russel Miranda is following along, he hears this inhuman scream come from the top of a nearby hill, since this is a hilly country. It's not very high, but as he looks, what he thought was a random rock and smaller rocks around it, it's actually a cairn. And the cairn bursts apart. Claws reach up through the strewn pile of rubble, and something pulls itself up with a leap and shrieks again, looking at Russell. See, so do we want a monster or an undead? I wonder. I'm going to say it's very unlikely. But since we have undead, I wonder if Auntie Marge has somehow figured out a way to follow him into this new world. Well, he slammed the door on her, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't know another way to open it up. But I kind of have the feeling that that story plot is done for now. But I'm going to ask anyway. On a 6, it's going to be Auntie Marge. Okay, so it's not Auntie Marge. And I think here, it's just going to be a monster instead of it being a some kind of undead. So this beast, it looks like a gaunt, mange-covered werewolf. Now, he knows what werewolves are from legend. This isn't necessarily a werewolf, just what comes to mind. And there are scabs and sores over this beast's elongated nose, and it has fangs dripping, and it immediately, like loping like a dog, sets its foreclaws into the ground and starts racing towards Russel Miranda. And just because the universe sometimes works that way, I'm going to roll in on a 6. Those runes will respond to this monster. Because on the one hand, it's possible that maybe they carry this thing. I mean, these ghostriders had this axe on them. So it would not be outside the realm of probability that they carry it for the specific purpose of dealing with this creature or creatures like it. But I'm going to give it on a 6. Okay. Close but no cigar. Now this is instead it was a brawny difficult, so I'm just going to make him a difficult creature. And that'll be for brawny and whatever bullets. Russell is on the ground, or not on the ground, but on his feet. He's not on the horses. But he thinks it might be a good idea to try to catch up with the horses. So even though it's brawny, I'm going to give him an agility check to try to get on one of the horses and see if he can run away from this thing. Yeah, it is hard. Okay. Nope. All right. He can tell immediately that he is not going to get to the horses. And in fact, as soon as this thing burst through, started screaming, the horses started running east, just straight east, not even paying attention where they're going. Their eyes are rolling. Their making their own little horse screams as this thing races down towards him. He decides to go ahead and get his guns out, and he's going to start plowing away. So it's close to him, so he's going to grab one. He's going to draw one gun, and he's going to get that axe out. He's going to draw it out. All right, so we'll flip over here to this kind of battle mat so we can see the freaky looking monster that I found in my array of tokens that I have. I've decided the enemy has 2 effort tokens, but Russel Miranda has to fight him with a 6. So this is a very powerful, very fast beast as it runs down. And Russell is going to, first off, he's going to take, instead of trying to blast this thing, so he knows he's down, he's low on his ammo, he's going to just take one shot, a carefully aimed shot. Aiming with his eye and killing with his heart, or however that gunslinger mantra goes. All right, not even close. So he fires, the report echoes through the hills, and the thing leaps aside, the bullet sending a divot of grass and dirt from the side of the hill, and it leaps at him. All right, so now he's gonna try to fend it off. He's gonna try to fend it off with the axe. It's not doing anything fancy with its runes yet, but it's sturdy and it's got a little bit more power to it than his fancy knife. Now it's brawling, so that's actually his forte. All right. All right, so he has failed. Whoops, stop you. So he's going to lose 1 resolve. If I can figure out how to get this to work. I seem to have this trouble a lot when I go from when I take a week off. All right, so this beast leaps at him, clawing and scratching, and shreds part of Russell's coat, his duster. Fortunately, it's good Gilead leather, but even the good Gilead leather can only take so much. Russell, foregoing his pistol for now, he tries to slam this creature with the axe. All right, nothing there. He takes some wild swings, but the beast leaps back and leaps aside, and then immediately leaps back at Russel Miranda. Let's see. I think I'm going to give Russell a 5 this time. Because he did kind of get the beast to leap back, so it kind of broke his attack. And it circles around, snarling, and then leaps again. All right. No bueno for Russell. it leaps forward and tangles Russell up. They roll, and the beast gets on top, and he's slashing and cutting, and Russell's getting his ass kicked again already. And so Russell is going to fight back. He's going to try to shove the pistol as best as he can into this thing's face while he's bringing the axe, trying to slash, trying to hook, trying to do whatever he can against this thing. He's twisting his face around back and forth, trying to escape. Or trying to get it off of him. All right, good. So Russell does finally manage to get a blow in, and he opens up a nasty cut on the side of this thing's face as he's holding it at bay, using the pistol to basically, it's biting down on his pistol, trying to keep the pistol in his mouth. Unfortunately, it's not in a good place to just blow his brains out, but he's using it to force the creature to keep from biting his neck, because that's what this thing wants. It's just tearing through his clothes, trying to get its fangs into Russell's neck. And Russell pulls the thing off to the side and hammers this axe into the thing. And it rolls off and leaps back. And Russell, he's got his pistol ready, and he tries to bring it up and fend himself off again as this thing, let's see. It's pretty nasty, but it's also not used to getting walloped. And it's some kind of wild beast. So I'm going to say on a 5 or a 6. That thing is going to reconsider his life choices. All right. So it snarls and it circles Russell. And Russell can tell that it is rethinking its attack. Russell doesn't want to waste any ammo he doesn't need. Doesn't need to. But this thing pretty much just shredded him. And so if this will go away, then that's what he wants. It paces back and forth, snarling. And then as it looks like it's coming a little bit closer, Russell raises the axe, threatens him with the axe. And the beast, he doesn't panic. He doesn't run off like a scared animal. There's some thought in his eyes, and that terrifies Russell more than anything else. But it does. It runs away, it keeps glancing over its shoulder as it hops back, as it races back up into the cairn. It jumps in, and Russell can see just the hands, those clawed hands, stacking the cairn back up. The whole time Russell has his big iron ready. And he watches it for a couple of minutes. But it doesn't come back out. God's damn it. He looks at his shredded new clothes, his duster. Not completely useless, but definitely torn to pieces, and now blood-soaked again. So he slinks away as best as he can, to patch himself up, clean the blood off his clothes, which he can't really clean it off of his clothes, but he tries to bind his wounds. All the time looking over his shoulder, looking at that cairn in the distance to make sure that it's still stacked, make sure that that thing has not hopped back out. As he takes care of himself, takes care of his scratches. Fortunately, his duster is pretty tough. He looks after the tracks of the horses and starts following them east as fast as he can, while still moving with a little bit of caution. Zoom in here. He follows them through what does look like a commonly used path. And the way these horses followed it, even in their panic, leads him to believe that this path does lead to some place, some facility that the Ghost Riders of Tahira are from. Maybe a camp or something. Hopefully not another haunted underground hellhole full of strange old world machinery. But he carries on, reloads his pistol, cleans everything, looks at his axe with a appreciation and hefts it, wondering again what those strange runes might mean, if anything. As far as he knows, they're just the initials of the old world company that made it. And we will go ahead and stop it right there as he approaches this bunker. At least that's what the legend says it is on my randomly generated hex map, or hex crawl map. All right, well, thank you for coming along. The further adventures of Russel Miranda. Happy gaming.